Hello everyone. Today I'm going to do a quick open box review of the Dasung Paperlike HD 13.3-inch e-ink screen. As a programmer, I look at computer screens 16 hours a day, and as time goes by, I started to feel more and more discomfort of the eyes. So I started looking for some alternatives, of which the best option would be the e-ink screens. If you have seen a Kindle, then you have already seen an e-ink screen. So unlike the traditional LCD or LED screens, the e-ink screen does not light up itself. Instead, the pixels can change their reflection rate from white to gray to black, just like how ink is printed on papers, which is why it's much healthier for the eyes. But if you have actually used the Kindle, you will know the e-ink screens are nowhere near as performant as the traditional computer screens. They're normally slow responding and it flashes black and white occasionally. Now, although these are the fundamental limitations because of just how the e-ink works, it also supposed to get better throughout the years. However, it is uncertain if the technology actually got good enough so they can actually be used as computer screen instead of just e-readers. This is such kind of like a niche market, so there aren't so much information and reviews of that on the internet. I spent a lot of time searching and found out that the Dasung Paperlike screens are having the best specs, especially in terms of size and the refresh latency. Luckily for me, the manufacturer is from China, so I actually had the chance to try it out in person. And it is indeed pretty impressive. So I bought one and I'm gonna share it with all of you with this video. As you can see, the packaging is quite simple, so let's just open it up. Alright, so here's the screen. So because e-ink screens, it only needs power to change display, and it doesn't need power to just keep the display. So the manufacturer, I guess, it decided it's fun to just display some preloaded images. So as you can see, the model is Paperlike HD-F. Where the -F means front light, so it lights up in the dark. We're gonna try it out in a bit. Now here's the power button. I haven't connected power cable yet. I think this is for the front light. These plus and minus signs should be for contrast, and this is for display mode. We're gonna try them out in a bit. And in the back, you can see there are 4 screw holes. I think these are for the visa mount so that you can install this on your existing monitor rack or on the wall. Here are some quick start guide, warranty, and the manual. I got those in Chinese, but I think if you buy it in the manufacturer's US site, you should get them in English. And here are some accessories. These are a little screwdriver and the screws for the visa mount. I'm probably not gonna do it today, but I do plan to install it on a monitor rack. And this is the cable. As you can see, this is what going to be plugged on the monitor, and this is like splitting cable that you will need a regular HDMI socket and a USB socket. So as far as I can see, the USB is for power, so you can just plug it into some charger and it should work. Alright, I've now connected the screen with my laptop. As we just said, you can see one side of the cable is a proprietary socket connecting to the screen, and the other side is an HDMI and USB plug. So I have the newer MacBook, so I have a lot of the Apple's USB-C multimedia adapter, which works surprisingly well because it provides exactly one HDMI and one USB-C with just single USB-C connection. So let's turn it on. As you can see, it's displaying. I turned on mirroring so that we can see how they differ. The quality of the display is actually pretty good. This is just one of the default Apple's desktop picture. So let's now take a look. So I think its resolution is 2200 times 1650. I think it's quite high for 13-inch screen. So as you can see, the texts are pretty small. So I'm actually just gonna lower it to the next level, which is 1344 times 1008. Okay, that looks a lot better now. So we can do a quick comparison of just the wallpaper. This is the eInk display, and this is the Retina display from MacBook. As you can see, it's quite different, color aside still. But I think it's pretty impressive. And now we get to the display mode button that we talked about before, and this basically tells the screen how many grayscale it wants to display. So now as the highest, I think is probably 256 levels or something like those, or 1024. And it has like a lower level. This is M2. As you can see, the contrast becomes higher because it just reduced the number of grayscale levels that it can display. And it also has a just black and white mode, so it just displays black and white with just 2 grayscales. So at this point, let's just put it back to M3. I think it's pretty good, and we'll see how it works out in a bit. So now I'm just gonna put up a browser and to see how that works out. Alright, so let me just open my favorite website, GitHub. So as you can see, as I'm typing, it actually responds pretty well. If you have tried to type anything on Kindle, you will know like this is like way better than the screen Kindle has. Now, if I just randomly browse something, wait, I don't think it's scaled correctly. I think it should be totally useful for most of the text-based display. And the response speed is pretty well, and I don't think you are gonna notice any difference in terms of experience instead of just it being grayscale. Okay, I can actually merge this. And I also tried somewhat like extreme test, which is to play and video. That is apparently not what this is designed for, but I thought, I'd rather just try it out. And it actually works. So as you can see, the video plays not as well as the Max display, but it still goes on pretty smoothly. So that is pretty impressive. Now, apparently we're not buying an eInk screen to watch videos, so I'm gonna demonstrate how it performs for coding. So let's bring up a terminal, and then we can see one of the biggest issues for the eInk screen, which is the residual display. So as you can see clearly on a black background that the remainings of the desktop image are still there. This is how it gets to not doing the white and black flashes once in a while like Kindle does, but the price is that you will have those. I think the manufacturer actually provides a driver that you can tune how often and when to do the full refresh, so you can clear out the residual image. Unfortunately, I think that drivers only exist on a CD that in the box, which I currently don't have a CD drive. So from what the manual says, the default mode is a smart mode. So I think once it detects there's too many residual values, it will just do a full refresh where you will see like a black, white, a flash, and all of those should be gone. Now, for text, I'm gonna actually, remember we talked about the display mode. I'm just gonna lower it to the next level, which actually does a refresh, and you can see now the residual images are gone. So I think because we are only on a terminal, I have 256 colors anyways, so I'm just gonna switch to this M2 mode. So now let's try make the terminal print something. So I'm just gonna do a yum upgrade. As you can see, it responds to text scrolls pretty well, but there are indeed still some residual text, but for white characters on a black background, I think it's still acceptable. Now let's try something else. So let me just try to print something on the terminal, and then I want to scroll it over a little bit, just up and down. And as you can see, as I scroll it, the residual image becomes a lot worse, and you can see these kind of like gray strips. They're all, kind of the residual image of the whatever text on it, and it's getting a little bit harder to recognize the text. So I read the manual, and it actually addresses the issue. It says if you are on a terminal, maybe try reverse your background and foreground color. So that's what I'm gonna do now. And background is white and foreground is black. And it actually works surprisingly well. You can see like no matter how I scroll, the texts are still pretty clear, and you don't see much of the things remain on the screen. This is because when the eInk displays white, it also needs to erase whatever blacks underneath it. So like, putting the background to white makes it a lot easier to not having the text remain on the screen. However, that probably means that you will need a different highlighting profile for using this screen. If I just open some random file, as you can see, like the includes are supposed to be red, and the rest of the comments are supposed to be blue. They're not very visible on the eInk screen, so you'll probably need, but you can still see like the type ending highlights. So you probably need a different highlight profile for the eInk screen. So now it's also getting a little bit dark, so we can also demonstrate some of the backlight. So I can turn on, there are two different backlight mode. One is just like colder white, another one is just warmer white. They are front light, that means the light is going through, from the bottom to the front of the e-ink and still reflects to you. So that won't be the same as like a LCD or LED screen where you're just basically staring at little light bulbs of pixels. So this will be still like you're reading a paper under the lamp. So still good for your eyes. And if I can just like type something, and then as you can see, it's pretty responsive once you get used to the reverse color. I think I can totally work on this once I get a good highlight profile going on. Finally, a bit about buying if you're actually interested. The manufacturer does have a US website, which is the dasungtech.com. And if you click on the how to buy, it will lead you to their eBay store or something like those. They also make tablets with actual operating system and so on, but I think the monitor is still, the e-ink screen is still the more interesting option. So they have an older model, which is the Pro, ironically, and I've tried them in store. They're definitely less contrast and slower responding speed. So if you actually want to use it for coding or daily work, I would still recommend the HD model. They also have a touchscreen model, which I don't think is very useful. I haven't had the chance to try it, but just thinking about it, I wouldn't really want to touch on it. So the exact one that we showed here is $1049, which is a little bit expensive. The one I bought is in China is about a little bit more than 6,000 yuan, which is around $800. So you can see the price difference is like quite significant. If you have friends from China, maybe you can ask them to bring one for you. Otherwise, I wish this is helpful and enjoy.